I think the biggest challenge of to overcome is imposter syndrome, especially when you're a type of person that thinks that everything has to be perfect and in order. It just really will put you in a space of, well, no, I'm not ready to do that yet.
All right, welcome back to the Inspired Talks podcast. We're super excited for this interview today because we have a special guest, Telisa Lyons-Washington. She is a certified coach. She's the author, speaker. For over 20 years, she's been in the industry helping business owners and entrepreneurs on their journey. So we're super excited to have this conversation with you, Telisa. Thank you so much for coming on.
Glad to be here with you today.
Thank you. And just for the audience that didn't know, but we met Telisa obviously through Instagram, social media, and we just recently wrapped up our first content day, which was amazing.
Yes, it was.
It was amazing, and it was your first one, right?
Yes, it was. It was my first one, and it was marvelous.
Oh my gosh. So on that content day, we were able to hear a little bit about your story and learn a little bit more about who you are and what you do. So can you just share to the audience a little bit about what you do, who you are, and just how you serve your people?
Yes. So I am a multifaceted entrepreneur and also a leader. So by day, my 9 to 5, I'm a healthcare executive for one of the largest public health hospitals in the United States and here in the Miami area. And I serve in a leadership capacity there. But also, I am a full-time entrepreneur as well. I am the CEO and founder of Kaleidoscope, which is, again, a multifaceted company. We originally started out in the healthcare sector doing adult daycare and adult living assistance. Then also doing speaking engagements as well too. And out of speaking engagements and vision planning, I embarked on the coaching journey. And so I've been a certified coach for more than many years, I should say many years. And out of that came our Kaleidoscope's Arise to Win Academy. And so this is where we work with aspiring entrepreneurs, and typically these are emerging leaders and professionals who are looking to build themselves up and move into that next journey and path. We often sometimes become stagnant in what we're doing as leaders, and we're like, what is that next thing that I'm purposed to do? Mm-hmm. And so what we do is we help you identify what that purpose is and help you pivot. Wow. And so that's pretty much what I do. I'm a leader all day.
Yeah.
I love that, because one of the things that are super important to EJ and I is mentorship. And it sounds like you really help people from the ground up, which was one thing I truly loved. I'm like, I have not seen this before. And we've worked with like a lot of entrepreneurs, but what you offer is so helpful to the community. Yeah. And so what I wanted to talk about as well, just based on your story, back in 1999, you said you kind of had to pivot in your journey. So for those who haven't watched your story branding video yet, could you share a little bit about back in 1999, how you had to pivot in your career? Yes,
1999. That's the year. I always reference back to Prince song. Tonight we're gonna party like it's 1999. And in that year, I heard that song mentally, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm entering a new millennia. What am I going to do? I had to take a look at where I had been for the last 8 years, because I had finished high school, gone to college, had a ton of credits in different things, changed majors multiple times. And I had already birthed my first child.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm like, okay, I have to do something here. This is what I'm doing now. It's not going to work. And that shift in mindset, because that's the key, shift in mindset. I had to have that mindset change, that I have to do something differently if I want to see something differently. And so the first thing that I did is I found someone who was a mentor and supporter and expressed what I wanted to do, and they gave me an opportunity. And from that opportunity, I drew up a plan. I came up with a plan of what actions I needed to take. And from there, I moved from a $5.15 an hour position to very
Yeah.
lucrative
Some money.
position.
Some
Yes.
money.
I would say that I am living that scripture that says to prosper and be in good health.
Wow.
I am there. I'm living it.
Amen.
And that is because back in 1999, I decided to make that pivot,
That decision.
Wow.
That is the biggest thing that we have to always take into account. I call it the awe factor. And it's, I always say, are you in awe? And I'm like, what do you mean, am I in awe? Well, are you aware of what your calling is? Are you aware if you are truly living in it?
Wow.
And once you become of that awareness, are you willing to make the change that's necessary in order for you to get there? And once you're aware and you're willing, now we have to have an eagerness to execute.
Wow.
And so I always say that, are you living in your awe factor? And so that was my awe moment. And I have lived by that continuously, and I found it to work. Always taking an account of, am I in awe? Am I living in awe? Am I aware? Am I willing? Am I eager?
Yeah.
And now let's execute. Execution is always has to be the final goal, execute, because we can have vision, but if we don't move with vision, it never happens.
Right. Wow,
So-
that was so beautiful.
That's powerful.
And for those who are listening and they're kind of thinking, okay, I am willing, I am in awe, how do I begin executing? What were some of the strategies you implemented in the beginning or even now when it comes to time management or just in general?
So the first thing I do, even before we get to time management, as I said, is mindset. So first we need to always take account of our mindset, because again, I can say we can have vision to do everything, but let's get discipline.
Right.
What are we doing to get us to where we're trying to go? So I always say everyone needs to first have carved out of their day at least 10 minutes. 10 minutes, that's all it takes. And we think it's a short period of time, but if we sit in silence for 10 minutes, we'll find just a minute is a lot. So take that 10 minutes to just sit in silence and listen. And as you're listening, what is it that's coming to you so that you need to take an account of?
Wow.
And so I do that every day, where I take 10 minutes out and I just sit in silence and think. And you'll be surprised what you're able to be poured into your spirit. And I take an account of that. Now that my mindset is in the right place, I need to write it down. You got to write the vision and make it plain. So what are those things that I want to achieve? I need to make them very clear. I write those down and make them clear, and then I'll need to prioritize them. Which one is of most value? Which one am I able to achieve in what particular time? Who needs to be a part of that vision to make it happen? So I start thinking of all those things and write them down. Once that vision is clear, now I need to actually sit down and I need to write goals around those things, SMART goals. So we go through that I do this with my clients where we go through this whole thing. Now, I might have the person who says, but I don't know which way to go.
Yeah.
So what I do is there's this purpose pathway that we create. And the first thing with that is I take, what are your knowledge? What knowledge do you have? What skills have you acquired? What do you love? What you're passionate about? Let's write them all in each category where they fit. My passions, my skills, my knowledge. And then we have this roadmap that intertwines all three of those categories together.
Right.
And we have a methodology of saying, well, I like this. I have this skill to do this. These things, three things can come together to do this.
Wow.
Right.
And then we list out different scenarios of things that could possibly be done, because it's not just what I know, but what am I passionate about? Am I skilled in it? Or can I acquire the skill?
Right.
And so we write all of those out, and then we pick the top three of what they think truly is their call to do. Because that's often the time of, I know I'm supposed to do something bigger, but I don't know what it is. Well, what do you like? What are you passionate about?
Right.
What do you know? What skill do you have? Are you willing to acquire the skill to go with the passion and the knowledge? Right. And so that's where we start to map out what those are, and then move into, okay, now I know exactly where I'm supposed to be and what I need to do. Now let's walk through the process of writing that down, the vision, the purpose pathway becomes the vision, and now let's put goals around them. And then if you take your goals, don't look for, you want the end goal, but what are the small steps that we have to take in order for us to get to the bigger goal? That's what I did when I pivot back in 1999. I literally started out the small steps. I said, okay, I know if I want to do this, I got to go to college. I got to finish this degree. I finished that bachelor's degree, and guess what? I knew the level I wanted to go to required the master's. I immediately rolled into the master's. Right. But then I also knew I started identifying I have a gift of helping others to get there too, because when I started on my journey, I started sharing with others and encouraging others to go along on the journey. So there were others who came along the journey too, and they were able to move forward and achieve their goals as well too.
That's so good.
And so I started working on, okay, so how am I going to get to this goal of empowering others, working with others? I said, okay, I have 2 degrees, so I don't need another degree to do it. Let me build the skill set I need to do the coaching and to add on to it. And so I started, like I say, acquiring the skill. And then I got into community. Community, I think, is the biggest factor of whether you're going to succeed or not. You must surround yourself with people who are going to empower you. You have to, because you're going to need that energy that when you can't do it, you're going to need them to be the one to uplift you and push you forward into it.
Amen.
Yeah.
And so community is the other thing as well too.
That's so good. It reminds me of Andy Henriquez, who's an amazing speaker and coach as well. And he talked about how environment is stronger than willpower. And wow, I mean, that just reminded me of everything you were sharing. And so when I think about prioritizing and time management, I know at the time you were raising your 2 babies. So how did you do it as a mother and your career and all of those great things?
Oh, yes. Again, community. Community is definitely one of the things that I would have to say. First of all, I have to say I have a very supportive family. My husband is very supportive. And he went on this journey with me. Nice. And he, shout out to him. Yes, we planned together, and he's like, okay, we're gonna do this. Wow. Yeah. And I had his support, and then I also had my family's support as well too, through my late mom, grandmother, and great grandmother. Wow. So I had 3. And I know not everyone has that, but we have community. So who in your community can support you? And if by chance, because I know some people may not have that direct family, who do you have that you can reach out to? So you do that through finding groups. You find communities that have the same interests that you have, and trying to connect with those. But in addition to that, I had to prioritize my time, because, okay, I have the help with the home life. Right. How do I prioritize my time going to school full time? And by the way, working my way up through the ranks of leadership at the same time that I'm acquiring the degrees. Yes. And parenting and everything else. How do I prioritize and find that balance? You need a schedule. There's no way around that. You need a schedule. You have to budget in time to work on the calling, the gift, the business, because they're entrepreneurs, that growth and leadership in the company you're working in. You have to carve out time for that. Where is that time? We have 24 hours in a day. And when I tell people, let's look at how we spend those 24 hours. 8 of them we're asleep. 8 of them we might be working 9 to 5 job. Now you got another 8 hours. What are you doing with the other 8? And when you put it in that perspective, people think, wait a minute, I do have another 8. And maybe there's travel time between those 2. And then you oftentimes have weekends. So how are you prioritizing? What's the priority? So you have to make your time priority. How am I going to effectively use it? So what I would do is carve out hours, and I still do that today. Yes. Today I have a schedule There's my 9 to 5 work schedule. There's my entrepreneurial work schedule, but there's also that growth time as well, that self-care time, because you need that as well too. You will not succeed if you don't take care of self. Self is your first priority. You take care of self, meaning rest, everything falls into place, because now your body is equipped in order for you to be able to do those other things that you need to do. So I carve out time. That's just a non-negotiable.
No, I agree.
Yep. Carve it out, dedicate it, and say this time, and stick to it. Because
can we talk about that? Sticking to
that's
it?
something recently we been revisiting together, blocking off time in our business, in our schedule, to just have that moment to think, like you said.
Yes.
Have that moment to focus on the top priorities in our life, in our business. And not only that, but honoring that time block, because sometimes we will have certain things on the schedule and we won't honor it because we'll do something else, or we'll
somebody will call.
Someone
and
will
say,
call,
hey,
get distracted.
Can we do this?
Right. So that's something that we've been focusing more on and trying to improve on in our schedule, just honoring the time that we are blocking off in our schedule. So that's a great point that you mentioned.
Yeah, it's so critical. Like I said, I live by that schedule now. I make sure that I have self-care time, business time, family time. Everything is scheduled. Yeah. And then again, there's the non-negotiables of someone calls, because it happens. Right. Someone calls or something comes up, and you have to have the willpower to say, you know what, this priority is more important. I'm not going to do this other thing today. And always thinking that there may be a next time to do the other thing. And maybe I can do something even better if I focus on this one thing that's the priority right now.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think the non-negotiables, knowing that and sticking to it, that's so good. I think I'm going to revisit that today.
Yeah.
And
there's something I wanted to ask you about. You said earlier, just talking about mindset, because I think that is really a big thing when it comes to people that's listening. Just having the difference between a fixed and a growth mindset. Can you speak about like what helped you along your journey? Was it like books? Were you reading a lot? Were you listening to different podcasts? What was it?
So I'm going to tell you, the first thing was, yes, I read. I'm an avid reader of self-help books, anything that brings calmness, anything that's going to help me to acquire a new skill or become more knowledgeable. I think that's important. Yeah. That fixed versus growth mindset.
Yes.
In order for you to get outside of a fixed mindset, you have to go back to that awareness. I have to be aware that I can't see everything through tunnel vision. I have to look outside of where I am now in order for me to make that shift. That shift cannot occur until I'm aware. I have to be aware that something has to change. And again, to get out of that, it's, again, meditate, pray on it. Also, again, community, surround yourself, because sometimes we become fixed because we hear all the noise that's coming in. And we need to get all of the noise factors out. And we need to get in environments where we start hearing positive affirmation, or we have people who are going to speak to us from an honest perspective. Find somebody that's doing what you do. It's very true that when they say birds of a feather flock together. If I want to be part of the flock that I seek, I need to go and find it. I need to be around it. And it's not to say that the people who you're around now you disconnect from them, but you have to put people in their right places for where you want to go.
Right.
The non-negotiables. We have to put people in their right place, where they belong in our lives. If we want to see growth, it's okay to move a little bit further and mature. That's what we're supposed to do. We're constantly supposed to be in a maturity pattern, not just by age, physically. Everything about us has to grow, from our spiritual, from our mental, from how we deal with things emotionally. There always has to be some growth. And the way to do that, again, is, read,
Yeah.
meditate on it, find individuals who are already doing, and find you a mentor. And it could be a mentor up close who you can talk to, but sometimes we have mentors from far away.
Yeah.
Yep.
We look at people who we admire, who we see doing, and let's see, what did that person do to get where they are? What are some of the things that they're practicing in order to get there?
I agree.
And so that's what I would tell you to get to shift from fixed to a growth mindset, is to move in it. And always look at things from the perspective of, I always can acquire knowledge. Knowledge is free.
Wow.
You can always acquire knowledge. And now we have such a vast amount of information available to us at our fingertips. It's no excuse as to why we don't understand or why we can't acquire or learn something new.
Right.
But always seek knowledge.
I love that. And I wanted to take it a little bit back to the scheduling. When you said you schedule and your husband helps you out, do you guys use like a specific app? Like we use Google Calendar, but do you do like a physical calendar, or what are some of the tools?
So
you
I have
use?
two. I have one that's a old school book calendar that I write in.
All right, can't go wrong with that.
And just in case that technology fails me,
Right.
I have it on paper.
Yep.
And then I use my Outlook calendar. And with that calendar, I color code.
Nice.
So I'll know what's the difference between work versus what's family time versus
Personal.
what's, it's all color coded.
Yes.
So I use Outlook.
That's good. That's something that we had to do on our Google calendar as well. We had to color code it.
Every day.
Yes.
Because when we first opened the calendar, it was like some weird colors. It was like colors that just wasn't matching. So we were like, well, let's use our brand colors, or let's use some colors that are appealing. So when I open this calendar, I feel more, excited about what we're going to do for the day. So, that's great. And it's funny because I even schedule in if I'm going to be cooking something like on Sunday night or Monday. So the scheduling, definitely a game changer. Anything else you want to add to that?
Oh, I think you guys said it all in terms of like scheduling has been like the number one thing for us that works. And we were able to buy back a lot of our time that we were missing out on, and opportunities like this to do podcasts on the day like this, right? Because even this had to be planned and scheduled and put together. So yeah, I definitely agree on that. I was going to ask about just a little bit about how do you, like, on your journey early on, like what were some of the challenges you had to overcome? And what were the things that helped you overcome them?
I'm going to tell you I think the biggest challenge to overcome is imposter syndrome. Especially when you're a type of person that thinks that everything has to be perfect and in order. It just really, really, really will put you in a space of, well, no, I'm not ready to do that yet. Or I don't think that I'm going to succeed at this, and therefore, getting out of that mentality. And I tell you how I conquered it is that I shift the mindset and said, you know what, I'm going to take the risk. I'm just going to take the risk. Fail forward. There's nothing wrong with failing. Failure is a learning lesson so that you don't repeat it again. And that's what you want to do. That's how we learn. And oftentimes we don't fail. If we take that risk and just jump, we oftentimes will find we won't fail. And if there is a fail point, guess what? There's a fix. There's a solution. And so don't be afraid to fail, because oftentimes the solution will appear at the time that you fail, so you can correct it and move forward.
That's good.
It just to remain stagnant and just not moved should not be an option.
Wow.
Just you get comfortable in failure. It's a great place to be.
Yeah. And I want to agree to that, because that's kind of how I felt before we even started this podcast, because I think that was one of the things that we pushed it back for so long, because this has been on the heart for like the last 2 years. And we're just thinking about, like, should we even start a podcast? Are we even at that point to start a podcast? We don't have the right equipment, maybe. Like, we're trying to, so many things in our head were just coming to us and made us feel like we wasn't ready. But like you said, just don't be stagnant. Just move.
Just move.
Just do it anyway. And I'm just so excited just about everything so far in this episode.
I know this is beautiful. So thank you for your wisdom, your experience, everything. Amazing.
No problem. The other thing I would say too, that one of the other stumbling blocks for me along the way was lack of information. Okay, I don't know it all. Well, guess what? I don't need to know it all. I figured that out. I can find the person who knows what I don't know. And so that's what helped me become a great leader. Was when you can identify where your areas of weakness or opportunities are, you can find the strength in someone else. It's okay to bring somebody else along to partner with you. You cannot succeed alone.
Yeah.
You have to get in community. You have to engage. You have to network. You have to partner. So I learned that earlier on. Well, this is my strength.
Yeah.
I do this well. However, I need this component, and it's a part of my business. I need to seek out the person who can do this, as I did with you all, with the content creation. It just makes sense, and it helps you be a better leader. It helps you to be a successful leader as well too. As we know, many businesses fail within the first 5 years. If you go back and talk to some of those business owners who failed, part of the issue, or they'll tell you their number one cause of that occurring would be is because they didn't have access to the resources that they needed. And oftentimes when we go back and look at, well, what were the resources you needed? Did you ever seek out assistance from anyone else? And it was, oh, I didn't know to do that. So always look for the information that you need in order to build. And if you don't have the strength in an area, go and try and identify someone who you can work with, because we have to be aligned, that has that strength.
Yeah, exposure.
Yes.
And I think that was our main motivation for this podcast. Like we were sharing a little bit earlier, we have a lot of people in our life that we see this entrepreneur spirit, and and we've met so many amazing people like you, and we're like, well, why don't we just combine the two so we can help bring that exposure so that we can possibly prevent someone from saying, I didn't know.
Yes.
Because if you listen to this podcast, I mean, you just dropped so many golden nuggets that it's going to be hard.
So many golden nuggets.
It's going to be hard. But I love what you said about strengths and weaknesses. And that's what EJ and I have also discovered, working together as a couple.
Yes.
Starting off, we're like, what roles should we do? What should we take on? And we've just learned in the last 2-3 years, like, sometimes EJ, he's great at covering the emails for me, right?
Yes.
While I'm in the room editing. And so we've had to have these conversations to say, okay, what are you doing better at? So that, we can just operate a little bit smoother and better and not feel overwhelmed either. Because when you're not operating in your purpose, I feel like you feel almost drained sometimes.
Absolutely.
Because that's not where you thrive.
Absolutely.
So this is great. I've got chills.
That's
right
what community and partnership is important. Yes. Open communication too.
Amen. So I think we're approaching the end. I feel like I want to talk forever, but is there a final piece of advice that you would give to our audience listening? They're starting a business, or maybe they're thinking about it.
What I would tell them is that to not give up on their dream. If you are not clear in what path you need to take, seek assistance, get the help. I'm here to help you.
Yes, she is.
I am here to help you. Kaleidoscope. I have a Rise to Win Academy. We have a great community of other coaches and leaders who partner with me, and we work together to help uplift. My goal is to make sure that everybody lives in their purpose. Yes. We were all placed here for a reason, and that's what I would leave with the audience is you were birthed for a purpose. You are not here by mistake. What are you passionate about? What skills do you have? What knowledge do you have? Bring all of those things together and just look at what it is that you truly want to do. And if you have faith, all you need is a small amount of it, just a small amount of faith. a small amount of persistence combined with it and a open mindset, you can do whatever you put your mind to. Nothing is impossible. You can do what you put your mind to. It's just a matter of having that faith, having that community, and getting very, very, very clear as to the direction that you want to take. Have clear goals, have a clear vision, and most definitely have a clear execution plan. Vision without works is dead. It is very true. I can have all the vision in the world, but if I don't execute on it, it was just a vision. Yeah. We want it to become fruition. So get in community, get very clear, very, very clear about what you're called to do. And once you're aware of that and you're willing, execute, execute, execute. And don't be afraid to fail forward. Fail forward is only a pause. It's a learning moment. And there's always a solution to the fail point. So get up and go.
Thank you so much, Telisa, for this amazing conversation.
Thank you all for having me.
We received so much.
It's such a pleasure.
We received so much knowledge from just having this conversation with you in this little bit of time. So, where can other people find you and stay connected if they want to? So,
if you want to stay connected, I'm at Kaleidoscope. That's CareLeiDoscope. I know it's long. It's Kaleidoscope. You'll find me there on Facebook. You'll find me there on Instagram. And you can find me on the web, my website there, www.kaleidoscope.com. And if you visit the website, you'll be able to schedule. I'm offering a free 30-minute Co-Create Your Success call where you can contact me and we will sit together. If you truly want to work out and go through your pivot plan, I offer that to anyone free. Wow. I also do personality assessments free because people sometimes don't know where they fit. So I'll offer that free as well too. As I said, my goal is to empower. I want people to be able to live the same dream that I've been able to live of being stagnant, being stuck, and having to pivot and being able to pivot successfully.
Please like, comment, share this with your friends, share this with any entrepreneur that's starting out on their journey. And we will see you guys in the next one.